Hey everyone, this is the follow-up to yesterday's lesson on Orally where we played the melody and I said I wanted to get to the chords. So this will be the chord lesson on that. As you notice, these songs are being used as vehicles to learn different concepts. This isn't going to be necessarily the best time for every one of you to learn all of these chords, especially not the larger chords that I'm using, nor is Orally probably the best place to use power chords on your acoustic guitar. But I want to run through it because it is a great example of how they look and how we would find them on the guitar neck. If you're getting to the point where you think these videos are coming way too fast and showing you way too much information, you're right, absolutely. I'm actually having a lot of trouble in my mind slowing down and not jumping into the next video immediately after finishing one. What you have to do with these is keep them as an archive. You're not supposed to accomplish one of these lessons every single day, but rather one a week or maybe two a week at the most. And some of them aren't even going to fit into that time span. You could be many, many months down the road before this is particularly useful to you. But I do want you to see it all right now because we have experienced all these chords already. Here I have the smallest version of our C chord and of our G7 again, and I'm going to play through the song with these. As you saw before, it's in 4/4 time, so our basic division would be 4 strums per bar. It's a hymn style again, which means the first 4 bars are basically repeated, so after these chords I've written at the end 2 times. That's just my shorthand to say repeat. Then we go to a third line, which is different from the first 2, and then the last line will return to these chords again. So I'll be playing this line twice, this, and then back. After that, I'll fill these chords up with the larger fingerings that we had. Unfortunately, I'm not able to sing well, so you'll have to play this on your guitar, playing the melody along with me. The tune is... Have that in mind here. 1, 2, 3, 4. C, repeat that line, D7, G7, small c. So now we'll move from C to E7, and the finger will move down 1 string. Technically, that's down because we're going from higher to lower strings. Very often, I will say you're moving up. Hopefully, I won't confuse you too much by doing that. But that pointer will move from the 2nd to the 3rd string, and we'll add the middle finger to the 5th string. The melody here is where we hit those 3 E's per bar. So here's that little C, E7, A minor, and E again. Back to the beginning line, C, D7, G7, and I'll hit 1 C to end. I'll add a couple of notes to that now. So many of you may be done at this point, but if you've been working on the larger version of chords, we can go through them here. This is one of those nice little spiral moments that I've talked about. We learned the C with 1 finger. Leaving that finger there as an anchor, we turned it into a D7 by creating a triangle. We then moved these 2 fingers to the middle strings to create the A minor. Then we use the A minor once we've got 3 fingers on the fretboard to create this C, where the ring finger came out to the 5th string. So we learned from 1 C, the D7. From the D7, the A minor, and from the A minor we created a new C. From this C, we've got these 2 fingers, one on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and the middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th. Then they can go both, I'll say down again, they go down from where they are onto lower strings into the E7. So the angle's the same, the spacing's the same, but they've moved down a string. Again, because it looks like I'm going up, this is one case where I will often say we're going up. Hopefully not too often. So that is, oops. That's this C moving into that E7. We've talked about anchor fingers. They're the ones that don't move between 2 chords. And guide fingers, the ones that will slide along a string. There is no term for this when these two fingers will move and stay in their same frets, but you want to practice chord changes that utilize those as well. So here's the song again with these chords. Actually, I'll put the melody in this. Repeat the line. C on the next line. Back to the top line. D, A, D. So now I want to switch us to doing power chords for these. I call these sometimes our emergency chords. You may come running into a song like this, be expected to play it, but don't know all of the chords. If you've started to learn power chords and you're starting to map out the bottom strings of your guitar, you can actually substitute them in quite nicely. And I'll show you how that's done in a second. So here are the chord names that we'll be playing, just as we did before. C, D7, G7, C. Repeat that line. C, E7, A minor, E. Then we're back to this line. Here's our guitar. Eddie 8 Dynamite, Goodbye Eddie. We see the names of our strings. We learned through Smoke on the Water that on this string we could go E to 3rd fret G to 5th fret A. Starting there, we learned that we could have A, D, and E at the 5th fret of the 6th string, then the 5th fret of the 5th string, then over to the 7th fret. We also can use this E and this A for our E power chord and our A power chord. On the A string, B is at the 2nd fret and C is at the 3rd. I will tab this, and I think I'll just split screen that at one point, but how we would start then is C starts with a power chord on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. The D is 2 frets up on the same string. In power chords, we don't worry about 7s, so it's just the D. The G chord is back where the C is, but on the 6th string, so it'd be 3rd fret, 5th fret, 3rd fret on the low string, and then back on the 5th string. That line repeats, C, D, G, and C. C again. We learned that there's an E out here at the 7th fret. We don't have to use that one. We could go to this open E and use it for the basis of a power chord. We can use the 5th string open for the basis of another one, and back to E, and then we do the top line again. As you saw at one point with a beginner student, I'll just play these bass notes of the power chord. So here's C, up 2 frets to D, down a string and back to the 3rd fret for G, back on C, 5th string, 3rd fret. Repeat that line. Hopefully that was 4 while I was talking. 2 frets up to D, back to the G on the 6th string, over to C on the 5th. I'll use the still C. Then the open E for the basis of an E power chord. A is on the next string, back to E, back to the beginning, C. D is up 2 frets, G is down on the other string at the 3rd fret, and C. Again, I've gotten into a habit, because there's only one vocal note there, of hitting the one chord at the end. You could play through that bar as well. So that was the bass note. As you remember, power chords require that we play that bass note plus a note on the next string 2 frets over. If you don't recall that, go back to the lesson on power chords. We've talked about them twice. So here's the song in power chords. D, the whole chord moves over 2 frets. On G, it's back 2 frets and down a string, back to C. C again. Notice I'm on the 5th and 4th strings. 5th and 4th strings. G is 6th and 5th. C, 5th and 4th again. More C's. E is an open and a 2nd fret. So is A, but a string higher. Back back to E, and back to the first. D is up, G, C. I'll play again. C, D, G, C. Repeating. C, D, G. Notice I'm not saying G7, but it is. C, C, E, open in 2. A is open in 2 on the other string. Back down to E. Back to the beginning. D, G. I'll quickly draw those power chords that we just did so you can see them. For reference, here are the bass notes I just played. The C is the 3rd fret on the 5th string, so we played that for 4 beats, so 4 times. Moved up 2 frets to the D, which is at the 5th fret. Went back to the 3rd, but down to the low string for the G, and switched back up to the 5th string for C. I've written a repeat sign here, double dots with a double line. We start again, 3rd fret C, 5th fret D. We're representing the D7 and G7 chords, but we're not actually accomplishing those 7s with power chords. G and C. Then we had the C. We went to the open 6th string E for Eddie 8 Dynamite, the open 5th string for A, Eddie 8, and back to the E. That E is a 7 and A is a minor. Notice we don't accomplish either of those with power chords, we just represent the bass. So we went through that. I've written at the end D, C, alpha, and E, or D, C, alpha, and A. You start again. D, C means da capo, you're back to the top, and you stop at the fine or fine. Very often when we're established on power chords, this is all right to you, because you'll presume that other note 2 frets higher. With a 3 here, C would also have this extra noted G note. Therefore, it's a C5. D would have an extra note, this A, which is at the 7th fret. So now it's a D5. G has a note 2 frets up and 1 string over. That's that D at the 5th fret, G5. And again, C has the G note with it, C5. Generally, I won't bother putting in the 2nd note, nor will I tell you every single time that they're 5s. We'll just know we're dealing with power chords. Notice with the E, we have this open E, and a note 2 frets up on the other string, so it's the 2nd fret, it's this B note. With the A, there's an E note there. Just a little reminder, when you see that, the E would be open here. You'd have this 2nd fret, that's the E power chord. If we put some more notes in there, you'd see that those are just the 2 low notes of your E chord. Same thing with the A. Our power chords are part of our other chords. They're located in there somewhere in each case. So I guess I'll leave it at that for you. Hopefully this will be quick once I cut out some parts where I was writing on the board. Have a great night. Talk to you guys later. Bye.